So in Genesis 6:2, we see that the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were fair, right? So universally, all denominations believe all the sons of God are angels who saw the daughters of men. Even identity teachers believe this, even though the identity teachers are the only ones who understand that the word man actually means Adam. So we're going to take a look at this word Adam today, and I will propose a different view. So as I understand the reasoning of identity teachers, that they say, well, you have the difference between sons of God and the daughters of Adam. So if the sons of God are of Adam, what's the problem if they mate with the daughters of Adam, right? Therefore, the sons of God must be angels, right? They even find translations where it doesn't say sons of God, but sons of heaven. Therefore, they say that proves that they are angels, spiritual beings. But being a son of heaven, does that necessarily mean that you are a spiritual being or an angel, right? Because Paul said that we are, and he is, a citizen of heaven. He doesn't say one day when I die, then I will become a citizen of heaven. No, he was already a citizen of heaven. Because often when we see the word heaven, we imagine a place out there, right? But we are already sons of God, right? We have already been brought into his marvelous light, right? A kingdom of heaven. Does that mean somewhere out there? Kingdom of heaven is here on earth. So that does not prove, right? I'm not saying I'm 100% I'm right. I just have a problem with the idea that spiritual angels came down and they had sex with human beings, and then 500 feet giants came out, right? And then they say, well, some people on earth are the offspring of those giants. So how did these giants even mate with smaller humans? How is it even physically possible? So I just have a problem with this fact, so I'm exploring other ideas. So I want to go over a little bit about what the writer Blanchard Thompson's said, a writer from the 1800s. And like all books and channels I listen to, I don't blindly accept everything, but he made some very interesting points. So I'm going to go over these points. So also this word Nephilim, which is always translated as giants, actually it means fallen ones, right? What does it mean to be a fallen one? Let's explore it. So I see a common theme when I look at our Adamic history, right? Also when you look at secular writings and the writings of our historians, what they said, and I see it's always the same thing. It's when the sons of God started to intermix with other creatures. Look, for example, what Plato wrote concerning Atlantis. For many generations, as long as the divine nature lasted in them, they were obedient to the laws and well affectioned towards the God, whose seed they were, for they possessed true and in every way great spirits. However, over time, the Atlanteans became corrupt. When the divine portion began to fade away and became diluted too often and too much with the mortal admixture, and the human nature got the upper hand. They then, being unable to bear their fortune, behaved unseemly, and to him who had an eye to see grew visibly debased. Plato 360 before Christ. So when the Adamic holy seed intermixes itself with the people of the land, they become broken vessels. They no longer can hold water, right? And maybe God placed a lot of them to be watchers, right? These sons of God with a special purpose, but they started to go into admixture, and they fell from heaven, figuratively speaking. We also see it with the Brahman priests and the civilization in North India. These were Adamic peoples, right? And they kept segregated from the darker races south in India. But they needed workers, right? So they allowed to come because it was a prosperous nation, a prosperous society, and there was so much work they could need a hand. But they still keep segregated. But also this law faded away over time, and they became mixed, right? Not all of them, but we see that North India is no longer that great civilization that once was. But even in the time of King Alexander, right, Alexander went all the way into North India because there were still the same people. This was a mighty empire. Same thing with Egypt, which started out with the Caucasian sons of Ham, and it was a really mighty empire. But over time, more and more admixture, and the empire fell, and it was never a powerful state again, right? Egypt today is just a third world country. So let's go back to the Bible, to Genesis 6:2, when the sons of God or the sons of heaven saw the daughters of Adam, that they were fair. Is it talking about that the angels saw the daughters of the man Adam? Let's take a look at this word Adam, and I found this information from Blanchard, and he makes some really good points which is worth considering, right? I cannot go over the entire book, but it is worth reading. He makes a lot of very interesting points. So if you came out of churchianity into the identity understanding, then you know that the word Adam means to be ruddy, able to blush, to show blood in the face, right? It's talking about Caucasian people, according to Strong's 119 and 120, and I agree. But could it be that the word Adam has another meaning to it? Let's take a look at it. It is evident that Adam is plural and of common gender. For the first and second verses of the 8th chapter of Genesis, we learn that Elohim created Adam in the likeness of Elohim, male and female, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. The name Adam was then most evidently a mark of distinction above all other creatures, for no other species of animal life was created in the image of Elohim, and no others were named by him. All others received their names from Adam. Adam is therefore evidently a name denoting eminence and authority. We therefore suggest that it is an abbreviated form of Adonim, the plural form of Adonah, which signifies Lord, Master, Dominus, owner and possessor of servants and of the land. The nun and the yod being dropped from Adonim would leave Adam. Thus, Adonim becomes Adam. In the Hebrew, the nun is very often dropped at the end, in the middle, and at the beginning of words. And the yod, when it represents a vowel, as in this case, is often dropped. And the vowel sign or point alone is used to represent the vowel. In this abbreviated form of Adonim, the nun is dropped, and the two vowels O and I are fused into one long A. The short A commences the name, is lengthened to a long kameth, pronounced properly Adam. So he's explaining that the word Adam indeed can refer to the race of Adam, but that the word Adam also can be used for people who are masters. For example, masters of their own group of people, masters of their own race, right? Let's examine that. Well, he gives an example. Let's take a look at it. So here he is writing about Hagar, Ishmael, the son of Abraham, and that he should indeed have a child, but he should not be a slave. On the contrary, he should not only be free, but should also be an Adam, a master, and his hand should be with all his brethren of that name, and their hand should be with him, and he should abide in their presence. For example, should not be excluded from their society. This promise agrees exactly with the promise of God to Abraham concerning Ishmael. Right? See Genesis. We're going to take a look at that. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. So indeed, God listened to Abraham's prayer concerning his son Ishmael. And Ishmael was sent away, but would be a father of a great nation, right? The Ishmaelites. But that does not mean that the seed of Ishmael would be the seed of promise. The seed of promise would go to Isaac. But nevertheless, Ishmael would also have his own nation, right? Let's take a look at chapter 16, verse 11. And the angel of Yahweh said unto her, that's Hagar, Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because Yahweh hath heard thy affliction. And he, Ishmael, will be a wild man. So let's take a look at the Hebrew word for this wild man. So Paul said, in Adam all die, and in Christ all shall be made alive. That's why Jesus is the second Adam, right? But we know that Ishmael is not part of that Adamic promise. That promise went to Isaac and to Jacob. So the word here, as you see, Adam, is indeed used for Ishmael, but in context it is not that Ishmael and his sons would be part of the Adamic race. We know that the Arab means to become darker, and especially with modern day admixture, they are no longer part of the Adamic promise. So in context, here it means that Ishmael would be a master or a lord, and that indeed he became. He became the lord of the Ishmaelites. So going back to Genesis 6:2, these daughters of Adam does not necessarily mean that they were daughters of the man Adam in this context, right? It can also mean that these Adam were lords over a great different people. And the word fair does not always mean white and ruddy. It can also mean pleasant to the eye. So could it be that these daughters of those lords who were walking around, they were pleasant to the eye? So now that we know that these daughters could have been the daughters of these lords of these other races, and that they were pleasant to look at, right? And who looked at them and thought they were fair, pleasant to look like? These were the sons of God. We know that Adam was a son of God, right? So who were these sons? We know that the sons of Seth didn't do it, right? Seth remained pure. So what about the descendants of Cain? Let's take a look at that. So according to the Bible we have, Cain and Abel were two bachelors for years and years and years, never had any children. And then after Cain killed Abel, he was sent away, ended up in the land of Nod. And this is where he took his wife and made children. But according to some scholars, they twisted these verses around. And Cain made already children. He already knew his wife before God sent him away. So let's take a look at this verse. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch. And he built a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begat Mehujael, and Mehujael begat Methusael, and Methusael begat Lamech, and Lamech took upon him 2 wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other Zillah. And so Ada bare Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents, and of such as have cattle. and his brother's name was Jubal. He was the father of all such as handled the harp and the organ. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron, and the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. So, according to the narrative, Cain went away, intermixed with other races, and this is where suddenly musical instruments were made, and making brass things and iron things, right? All these special gifts were given to a mixed race, right? I think these gifts were given to the pure sons of Adam, the sons of Cain, before Cain became evil and was sent away. But it also means that all these sons, being sons of Adam, would also be considered sons of God. How could it be that these are the sons of God who saw these other races, saw that they were fair, and intermarried with them? And this is how the descendants of Cain over time became a mixed race. So Cain would be a vagabond on the earth. That is, that you have not a place of your own, that you move around, right? But you just read that Cain built a city and named it after his son Enoch. So how can you have your own city and be a vagabond at the same time? Well, I suggest that these cities were still made by the sons of God, right? I mean, initially, these sons who built all these beautiful things, musical instruments, they were still considered sons of God because they were still of the pure bloodline of Adam. It was only later that they started to intermix, right? And we see every single time when the sons of God mix with other races that civilizations fall. And I believe that these cities fell, or at least that the descendants of Cain fell, right? The Nephilim, the fallen ones, they fell away from that heavenly authority because they became broken vessels and therefore vagabonds in the earth. So when the Bible speaks about Nephilim and dragons and serpents and heavenly pictures of angels fighting with swords, right? Is it really so that there is a war somewhere in the spiritual realm where angels fighting each other with swords, or is it all symbolical language? And to me, this view makes much more sense. Rather than spiritual beings mating with women and giants came out. I think it's all based on mythology, right? This makes much more sense to me. And also, I realize this whole church thing is so focused on the unseen, on the spiritual, demons in the sky, Satan with a pitchfork, roaming the earth, Satan being omniscient also, right? I think it takes away the power and the realization that we truly are sons of God and that we can have the law written in our hearts, right? Paul said we will be like the angels, like the messengers. Does it mean we will be spiritual beings floating around, or does it mean that we have God's spirit, God's laws in our inner part, right? Because all over history, the theme is the same. Every time admixture came into the Adamic gene pool, civilizations fall. And we see it even happening now in Europe and America. They are falling fast because we walked away from God's law to be a holy, set-apart people. God didn't tell you that because he just wants to bully you or he's a racist. No, he tells you to remain in Adam, right? Through Christ, not just in Adam, because just being of Adam is not enough. You have to put your faith in Christ as well, right? Because through Christ we have been bought back, right? Paul is talking about that we have been brought into this marvelous light. So personally, I think we make it way too way too complicated, everything, right? Also the book of Enoch, it is so symbolic. It is such a metaphorical language he used. Also, there's translations problems in Enoch, right? I don't reject the book of Enoch at all, but I think we are missing the mark, right? We are missing the message and the history message and the mistakes our forefathers made long distance. And I think this is much more powerful to realize who we are, right? Jesus was the only begotten Son, right? But you also know that Isaac was the only begotten son of Abraham, even though he had another son called Ishmael. So only begotten son. Jesus is not the only begotten son. We are brothers of Jesus, right? Through him, we are called the sons of God, according to Paul, right? So I guess, read it for yourself. And he got some great points, and it resonates with what I'm thinking about, because I don't follow any teacher. I don't follow church doctrines. I don't follow identity teachers. Yes, I love to listen to identity teachers, but also I don't accept everything they say, right? We have to examine everything ourselves. And even my video today, you don't have to accept, right? But I just want to put it out there to give you an alternative to the mainstream view, right? Because all these doctrines, the Trinity, the oneness, right? A lot of identity teachers still believe that Jesus is not the Son, but that he's actually the Father, right? And double natures and hypostatic unions, it's all based on philosophy and not the truth. And it takes away the power of the knowledge that we truly are the sons of God.